I can recall many great scenes from my favorite movies, and we will cover a lot of them in the series. But one that comes to mind, and one I'd like to use as an example for this introduction, is from the movie Up in the Air. It stars George Clooney and Anna Kendrick. Before we get into the scene itself, and to understand why the shots work so well, we need to know a bit about the context in which it appears. Both characters work for a professional corporate termination service. Anna Kendrick's character is new, and George Clooney's character is tasked with teaching her the ropes. The two are sent out as a team so Anna can experience firing someone face to face firsthand. After a heart-wrenching montage of employees reacting to the news of their firing, the film cuts to a shot of Anna sitting alone in a room full of empty chairs. This is the shot that I love so much. She is waiting for George. When he does arrive to pick her up, he asks if she's okay. She shrugs this question off, and they leave together. In terms of composition, the shot doesn't appear to be too complex. It appears to be a simple wide shot of Anna's character surrounded by office chairs. But if we analyze a bit further, we can see the true mastery in this shot. The use of the long shot allows us to see a lot of the chairs surrounding Anna. This emphasizes the large number of people she has fired. It also makes her look small and lonely in the frame. You can also see that this is a high-angle shot. This makes the chairs in the scene easier to see. If the shot had been taken at a lower angle, most of the chairs would have been blocked by those in the foreground. The high angle also makes Anna's character look weak and vulnerable. Her placement in the shot follows the rules of thirds and gives her viewing room. But more importantly, this placement makes it seem as if the chairs in the room are pushing her into the corner, physically, emotionally, and mentally. A deep depth of field is used, ensuring that we do not only focus on the character, but also the chairs, giving them more significance. All of these shot aspects convey a very definitive idea about how the character is feeling at that moment, regardless of what she tells George when he comes to pick her up. The visuals of the shot tell a story on their own, one of a human that is deeply affected by the fallout of their profession. The dramatic weight and beauty of the scene is not just achieved by simply following the composition rules. It works so well because the technical, narrative, and compositional elements work in harmony to create a meaning and to tell a story. This made a lasting impression on me, not just because it is visually striking, but because at that moment the images and the story were one. This series presents an integrated approach to understanding and applying the rules of cinematic composition, one that takes into account the technical and narrative aspects that make shots like the example from Up in the Air so powerful. This approach provides a deep and assertive exploration into one of the fundamental elements of the visual language of cinema, the shot. By focusing on the rules of cinematic composition as they apply to each of the most widely used shots in the cinematic vocabulary, examining the tools and know-how necessary to create them, and analyzing each shot's narrative function within their respective films, a clearer picture emerges about what it takes to create images that are visually compelling and narratively meaningful. But why focus on rules of compositions as they apply to specific shot types, instead of looking at these principles in a broader, more general sense, as they can be applied to any visual composition? The answer is simple. As the language of cinema developed, certain rules of composition have become standardized in the way that they apply to certain shots. Just like some technical conventions are more commonly found in certain shots, and not others. These technical and visual conventions are connected to narrative conventions, which over time have linked key moments in the story with the use of a particular shot. A detailed analysis of how these visual, technical, and narrative conventions apply to each specific shot can reveal the mechanics that contribute to their becoming conventions in the first place. Another concept the series proposes is that the rules of cinematic composition are not written in stone. These so-called rules are remarkably flexible and can be circumvented when appropriate, creating shots that have a fresh impact and resonate in surprising and even contradictory ways. For this reason, every shot analysis includes an example where the rules are broken, yet make it work in creative, unexpected, and narratively compelling ways. You will find the old adage, learn the rules so that you can break them properly, works just as advertised. This comprehensive and integrated conceptualization of every shot in your film is essential to truly harness the power of this art form and connect with the audience. I hope that each section of this series will inspire you to think about your shot in a more dynamic way the next time you set up your camera and get ready to frame your shot. Thank you for joining me.